February 18th, 2024, this is what it looked like outside HCMC. Inside that hospital, 4 first responders shot by a gunman after answering a call for help in Burnsville. 3 of them died. The shootings left a community in grief, and no one felt that grief more than their families, who didn't just know them as firefighters or police officers, but as husbands, sons, and fathers. For Cindy Elmstrad-Castrita, Tara Finseth, and Kristen Henke, the events of February 18th are still all too fresh and play on repeat, starting with the moment they received a knock on the door. Of all the powerful images from February 18th, 2024, and there are many, none compares to this. A video shared with us by Matthew Ruge's mom, taken inside HCMC that morning. The last video she would ever have of her son. Matthew Ruge was one of 3 Burnsville first responders shot and killed in the line of duty that day while responding to a domestic violence call. Also lost that day, Officer Paul Elmstrand and firefighter paramedic Adam Finseth.
Yeah, I still can't believe it's real.
Adam's wife, Tara, Matthew's mom, Kristen, and Paul's wife, Cindy, are all understandably still in shock 1 year after getting a knock on their door.
I basically woke up to the pounding at my door that morning. So sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I'm like still hearing it, you know, and it's like it just restarts every morning.
Cindy calls that knock bone chilling.
And I just looked out my window that overlooks my driveway, and I saw a squad car. And, you know, my mind, I don't know, I just knew immediately, like, this is bad. And so I got dressed very slowly because I did not want to go downstairs and open the door. The first thing that came out of my mouth was, "Is he alive?" And he told me no, and I just fell to the ground.
Kristen met that knock with disbelief. She'd just been texting with Matt the night before about scheduling a family dinner.
I woke up and looked, and I had a message from Matt, so that when I got the knock on the door at like 6 in the morning, it didn't seem real, but I could tell. And that time, he was not confirmed dead.
She rushed upstairs to get dressed.
And by the time those 5 minutes I came downstairs, I could tell on the look on the face that something was changed. And I just said, I need to know, is he alive or is he dead? And of course he told me. And I think at that moment I just slipped into mom mode.
She knew she had phone calls to make to Matt's dad and his sister. Adam's wife, Tara, didn't make any calls, didn't want to admit it was real.
I just remember sitting in a chair, and I couldn't even cry. Cause I'm like, this isn't my life. Like, this happens to people on TV. This isn't.
And like a scene from a movie, she keeps replaying things in her mind, thinking about how if even one detail had been different, he could still be alive.
Even a body shift, if he had been this way instead of this way, he would still be here.
And if it's hard for them to wrap their minds around this loss, how do you explain it to children? Tara and Adam's children were 10 and 8 at the time.
It's a hard question to answer. Kids process things so differently than we do, and they're so resilient. Liam, our son, is much more reserved and quiet with it all, where our daughter, Nora, just embraces it and lets everybody know. Like, she writes to Adam, she draws art, she wears his sweatshirts and his coats to school, is always talking about him.
Cindy and Paul's son, Mateo, was just 5 months old. Their daughter, Nora, 2. Every night since, Cindy says, she asks for a story about her dad.
I'm like, I just wish you would have gotten a lifetime with your dad. Like, I can't replace that by telling you stories about him. And so it hurts. I mean, it's pretty often that after I put her to bed, I just sit at the top of the stairs and cry.
Matt never had a chance to get married or have children.
He'll always be 27. He'll never be 37 or 47 or 57. Why couldn't I have gotten just one more family dinner in? Why couldn't I have?
This is all hard to hear. harder still for them to share. But they wanted to talk on this anniversary, to acknowledge the sacrifice made not just by their loved ones, but by those who wear a uniform every day.
Before Matt died, he shared how much it bothered him that there was not a lot of support for first responders, these people that show up in very dangerous situations, not knowing what they're walking into. And since these heroes were killed, the support has been amazing. And I know that would make Matt very happy.
That community lifts their spirits too.
What may seem like minor things mean the world to me. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but
Oh, definitely.
It's so meaningful.
And for the men and women who served alongside Matt and Paul and Adam the morning of February 18th, Cindy wanted them to know how grateful they are for them.
Because I can see how much they wish it was them and not our people. And I can just see the pain, almost like shame on their face. And, I just wanted to tell them, like, raise your head up high. Like, you did something so valiant. And, man, I just hope that they also feel the love and the respect and the support from the community, because they are still living and they went through something horrific. And I could never finish expressing my thankfulness to them.
Yet another first responder was shot that day, not once, but twice, but he survived.
Sometimes you don't understand why a bullet finds one person and not another.
We hear from him when we come back. More than a year after a gunman opened fire on first responders in Burnsville, we're learning new details of what unfolded that fateful day from the only man who was shot and survived. I sat down with Sergeant Adam Medlicott to talk more about that morning, the men we lost, and the promise he made to himself in the days that followed.
Absolutely terrifying. It's a level of fear I've never, ever experienced.
That is how Sergeant Adam Medlicott describes February 18th, the day a man opened fire on him and other Burnsville first responders.
Shots fired. Shots fired. Shots fired.
Police dispatch calls from 5:30 that morning give us a glimpse of what they faced.
We're getting rifle fire from the house. Anybody got eyes on?
But that day, that ended so horrifically, started out quietly. In a way, too quietly.
I mean, the day started on the 17th, because that was when our shift had started. So it was a pretty typical shift.
Medlicott had been stuck inside doing paperwork when he got a call from his partner, Sam.
He had called me and he said, do you want to go help them process this drunk driver, or do you want to be out on the road and handle calls? And I was like, Sam, I've been in the office all day. I want to get out. That then led to me being about the third or fourth officer on scene of this call.
That call came in at about 2 a.m., just an hour before the end of his shift.
I've been in law enforcement 15 years. You know when something serious is coming in just by the way it's dispatched or the information that's provided.
A woman called 911 reporting domestic violence and children in the house. When Medlicott arrived, he found another officer talking to her in the driveway. Knowing there were children inside, he and other officers went into the house through an open garage door.
The entire house was black, pitch black.
They couldn't see or hear anything, but then the suspect, Shannon Gooden, started talking to them from an upper level of the house. A good sign.
We knew that it had gone from a dynamic situation to a more stable situation. We thought if you have communication, if you have a line of communication, we can try to work through this and come to a peaceful conclusion with negotiations.
And they had two trained negotiators on site, Officers Pete Mueller and Matthew Ruge.
So you had those two that were kind of working in tandem inside the house, but Ruge had taken on the lead negotiation and was speaking with him.
And it seemed like he was making progress, and this went on for hours,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And it seemed like he was making progress. But it was clear Gooden was monitoring them closely.
The whole thought process in our situation was don't escalate him. Try to de-escalate him. Don't make any sudden movements. Don't try to say anything upsetting to him. He's got children up there. Our major concern was that he was going to turn the gun on the kids, you know, and we had to have personnel ready to react quickly if that was the case.
What does somebody say in a negotiation like that? And was there a point right before he fired that you could tell his mood had changed?
Just prior to firing, he said he was going to give up and he was going to come down, and he asked us to pray with him. And he started loudly praying, and that's when the gunfire erupted.
Sergeant Medlicott did not want to talk about the details of what happened next, out of respect for the other officers on scene and their families. He would only say the scene was chaotic.
You are kind of running off of pure adrenaline, and you're just acting out of instinct and training.
But we know Gooden fired on the officers inside the house, and they fired back, hitting him in the leg. And Gooden kept firing as they tried to get out to the safety of the Bearcat parked outside. 2 bullets hit Sergeant Medlicott, one in the forearm, one in the back. His bulletproof vest saved his life.
I was extremely lucky.
But he knew immediately others were not.
I knew. I knew that one for sure was likely not going to survive. I knew that from the moment the gunfire erupted. The other 2, you know, I didn't know. I knew they were in bad shape, but you know, you hope and pray that modern medical procedures can help and save them.
When he arrived at HCMC, no one had to say a word.
By the time I arrived at the hospital and one had come up to give me a hug, and I'd seen the faces of the others, I knew. I think I just knew at that time.
His friends, Officer Paul Elmstrand and Matthew Ruge, and his colleague, firefighter and SWAT medic Adam Finseth, did not survive. An unimaginable loss.
They were the best of us, and that's not a cliche. They were absolutely outstanding human beings.
The road since then has been hard.
Sometimes you don't understand why a bullet finds one person and not another.
But Sergeant Medlicott was determined to do whatever it took to get back on the job.
I wasn't going to let the actions of an evil person dictate what I do with my life. I had worked my entire adult life to get to the point I was at, and I wasn't just going to give that up.
3 months after the shooting, he returned to work full-time.
On the suggestion of somebody else, I started a journal, and I've never kept a journal in my life. And so the first words I wrote in the first journal I ever kept were, "I do not want this to change me." Definitely is an impact. You can't go through something like this and not be changed, but I truly believe I'm still generally the same person that I was on February 17th of 2024.
And on February 18th, all the first responders who lived through that day will be together, not at any memorial service or ceremony. They'll be at a cabin up north.
To be with each other, to embrace each other in our emotions, and to talk about things that we need to talk about if they come up. But mostly, more than anything, is just to be together and to understand that we were together on that day, and we're together for life with each other moving forward.
Moving forward. Coming up, we hear from both the Burnsville Police Chief and Fire Chief about just how difficult that is. While the one-year anniversary is a day many pause to remember the heroes we lost, Burnsville Police Chief Tanya Schwartz and Fire Chief BJ Jungman say they think about February 18th every day. I recently sat down with them to talk about how it changed them and their departments.
45, Sam 48. Where would you like them to stage at?
The calls came for the chiefs of Burnsville Fire and Police early on the morning of February 18th.
I vividly remember it.
Both woke to reports of a standoff unfolding in town. A man, possibly armed, holed up in a house with 7 children inside.
Our crews were out there and at our mobile command posts, and folks were all headed out there.
Fire Chief B.J. Jungman says the call didn't seem too out of the ordinary. They get calls like this a few times a year. But for whatever reason, that morning, it made him restless.
What about you, Chief?
Police Chief Tanya Schwartz had a similar feeling.
I vividly remember it as well.
She decided to sit up and listen to the police radio.
I don't always do that, but for whatever reason, I did that morning.
This is what she heard.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Shots fired.
Two down. Officer down. Two down. Officer down.
I just remember, jumping up and, running upstairs, getting ready to go. So it was just frantic. And my husband was getting up to help me getting my car started. He knew something was terribly wrong. And so that was the morning. I was like 5:26 in the morning when that happened.
Both chiefs started making calls and heading to their respective headquarters before learning where they really needed to be was HCMC.
And then my first mindset was, I just have to get down to the hospital. I've got to get there.
The scene there, chaotic. The situation, dire. 4 first responders shot. Only one, Sergeant Adam Medlicott, would survive. Officers Matthew Ruge and Paul Elmstrand and firefighter-paramedic Adam Finseth would not.
It's always in the back of your mind that something like this can happen, but to lose 3 at the same time, I think that was just it's just unimaginable.
You don't think something like this is going to happen in a community like ours.
How do you lead through something like that?
So I think it's just a little bit autopilot to start, and then you just get into I have to do this, we have to do this, we have to get our people through this, and we have to be strong and do the things we signed up to do, just like they did.
Support from the community and first responders from across the state that morning and every day since helped give them strength.
I couldn't believe it. It was just overwhelming, and it was emotional. It still is.
To see a 4-block area of downtown Minneapolis shut down with public safety vehicles, and a procession like that to honor those 3 guys come together in a matter of an hour or 2 is pretty amazing.
The hope is that you all feel that and feel honored, and I'm understanding the message received on that morning.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're so much in our bubble of our own people and in serving the community. To see that come back to us is utterly amazing and hard to comprehend. I've never seen anything like it. I've never experienced anything like it.
Since that day, the first priority has been the families of the fallen and helping in any way they can with their tremendous loss. And then it's for the men and women in their departments, all of whom are back on the job.
All of our guys who were out there that morning are back working.
A testament, Chief Schwartz says, to their courage and also how hard both departments are working to take care of their men and women in uniform. Both departments have increased access to mental health services. They've also added equipment. The police department will be getting their own Bearcat and an armored van, as well as rifle plates for their ballistic vests. The fire department added a 3rd SWAT medic to better support police on calls like the one that came in on February 18th.
How hard do you think February 18th is going to be for you?
Yeah, I think it's no doubt going to be hard. But I also hold a lot of hope and just faith that we're going to get through the day together as a family, like we've been doing every single day since February 18th, 2024. I just want us to heal. I want us to continue to heal. And each thing that we do, I think, brings a little piece of peace. So that's what I look forward to.
Burnsville Police and Fire hope to send the families of the fallen, along with fellow first responders, to Washington, D.C. in May for planned memorial ceremonies for fallen officers and firefighters. If you would like to support that effort, we have a link to donate at KARE11.com. We have some final thoughts when we come back. There has been so much grief since the deaths of those 3 beloved first responders in Burnsville, but there's been beauty too. as members of the community have shown up and shown their support for first responders and the families, and the many touching tributes shared at the public memorial after their deaths. One in particular stood out to me, that of Burnsville chaplain Mark Patrick. I asked him to share a few words for all of us on how to navigate through dark times and not lose faith, even in the face of evil. We'll leave you tonight with some of his thoughts. Is it hard to have faith after something like this happens?
I want to say it challenges your faith, but it also reminds you that your faith is the center of what helps us through life and helps us experience healing and hope and so on.
But how do you struggle with the bigger questions surrounding this, like how are people so evil? Why did good guys like that have to die? I mean, they seem like the best of the best.
Yes.
What would you tell them?
That's a challenge of living, as we say, in a fallen world, in a world where it is cruel at times. It is painful and very hurtful at times. So we pull together, we support one another. Find faith if you can, but also find friends. Try not to just go it alone.
Any word for the families?
Just, we still love you, still are praying for you, still respect and love the people you've lost.
Thank you for watching. And to all the first responders out there and their families, a special thank you to you for your continued sacrifice and service.